This time on Rad Rat video, I'm going to walk you through how to clean your bearings, and I'm also going to review the Bones bearing cleaning kit. So let's get into it. Welcome back to Rad Rat Video, the channel where you can learn something new about skateboarding 3 times a week. Subscribe so every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday you can learn something new about trick histories, all kinds of different topics. You can learn tricks, you can learn about a lot of different skateboarding stuff, including how to clean your bearings. So recently I did a video where I talked about the process of how to clean bearings, and I talked about why you should never use WD-40. You can watch that video right here. And in that video I talked about how it's done, and I really wanted to show you the process, but it's been sitting on the back burner for a while because I couldn't figure out how to do it with stuff that's around the house. It is definitely possible, but I didn't have anything that I could do it with. So I reached out to Bones, and they actually sent me their bearing cleaning kit. And that looks like this. They also sent me some of their speed cream. So I wanted to show you the process of how to do it with this kit, and also review the kit at the end. So I want to do that, and I'm really excited about this because I've always just bought really cheap bearings and then thrown them out when they started to get bad. If I can clean them properly and I can keep them lubricated and going really nice, then I could buy better bearings and not worry about wasting $100 on bearings that end up getting dirty and I throw them away, right? So learning how to do it properly is going to be a pretty important thing, so let's dive right into the process. Okay, so here's what you'll need. Some bearings. If you don't know how to take them off, you can get a bearing puller, or you can just use your axle like this. You'll need a push pin or something else small and sharp. You'll need a container for the cleaning solution. This Bones one makes it easier, but you could get by with something else. You need a solvent to wash the bearings in. Bones recommends acetone, methyl ethyl ketone, and denatured or isopropyl alcohol. I went with denatured alcohol. You will also need some bearing lube. This is Bones Speed Cream. I'm not familiar with other brands on this, but if it's designed for bearings, you should be in good shape. You'll also need non-lint towels. I just used paper towels because it's all I had. It also helps to have a can of compressed air, but you can get by without it. First step, pop off the bearing shields. You can do this with a thumbtack by just prying it off like this. If you have a paper clip, you can push the shield off from the back by poking it through the other side too. Step 2, wash the shields with soap and water. These are rubber, so you don't want to use a solvent for it. Just wash them in soap and water and wipe them down. Make sure they're completely dry before you put them back on though. Step 3, wash the bearings. With the cleaning kit, it works like this. You put your bearings on the bolt with the spacers, open ball side up. This will help let the solvent flow through easily. Pour your solvent up to about 1/3 of the way up the container, and then close it and shake it for at least 30 seconds. This is where having the official product helps. You could probably make something like this, but this thing isn't going to leak, and it's really easy to work with. I was thinking you could just soak the bearings in a tray, but they don't come clean that easily. Being able to shake it and force the solvent into it is a big benefit. You'll have to repeat this step a couple of times. Replace the solvent until it starts to come back clean after shaking it. Step 4, get the bearings out and wipe them down. At this point, my bearings were still pretty dirty. As I wiped them, there was a lot of crap still coming out. So I gave them another bath. They should be able to spin freely before you take them out. Unfortunately, this is where I started to realize that this wasn't going to work great. About 5 of these bearings have rust on them, so they aren't going to be perfect. But I'm hoping to squeeze a couple more months out of these. Next, make sure the bearings are completely dry. They recommend blowing them with canned air, and I have a can somewhere, but I couldn't find it. I found this hand pump though, so I just used this to dry them. If you don't have either, just wipe it as much as you can and let them air dry. Step 5, lube them up. If you're using speed cream, it recommends 2 drops per bearing, but follow the instructions if you bought something else. Once it's in there, spin them around a little to make sure the lube is spread throughout the bearing. At this point, I realized I wasn't going to have a great result. A couple of these bearings spun really well, but most of them were still a little crusty because of the rust, but that's more my bad than anything. Last, push the shields back on. They should pop in no problem. Okay, so my bearings are cleaned. Let's take a look at my results. Here's the spin test. This isn't really a scientific test, but I just spun them as hard as I could and timed them. Here are my before results from slowest to fastest. It's not going to be the exact same bearings in each wheel, but here are the clean results from slowest to fastest. This is an average increase of 2.2 seconds, which is significant percentage-wise. Imagine if I cleaned bearings that weren't rusty. You should be able to get about a minute no problem with better bearings. The next test was to actually roll down a hill and see how much farther I got. The spin test helps, but how does that actually translate in a real distance? So I dropped in on this really mild hill. I wanted something I could roll down completely straight, no pumping, and measure the distance. The dirty bearings got me right about here. The clean ones got me here. Not a huge result. I think it's important to mention how ridiculous the way I tested this was. I took a $16 set of bearings and used $24 worth of stuff to try to clean them. Of course, the bearing kit is not disposable, so I still have that. But I used about half of that solvent at least. So I did spend a little bit of money to clean really cheap bearings. But how about the actual kit? So I do think this was a really smart idea. I have seen a couple different designs. There's another brand that makes like 4 and 4 instead of all 8 in one spot. I don't think it makes much of a difference. But having something like this is a really big help because I don't know how you would do this at home unless you just made something like this. So it's really nice to have the official thing. It's really well made. I don't know if you can see like the inside here, the way it's all metal on the inside. It's leak proof. It's a really nicely built thing. So I do really like this. And then I also got that speed cream, and I was always kind of reluctant to buy speed cream in the past because it's called cream. You're gonna put cream in your bearings, like hand lotion type of stuff in there? That seems like a stupid thing to do. It's not cream, it's an oil, it's a regular bearing lube. I don't know why they call it that. I think they just think it sounds cool. But I don't have any complaints about this either. I don't have a lot of comparison for different kinds of lubricant for bearings, of course. But for a few bucks, I think this is like $6, then I have no problem with it. The amount that you get makes a lot of sense. You only use 2 drops per bearing. This will still last you quite a while. You could probably get a better deal if you went to Home Depot and bought a gallon of bearing lube or something, but that's going to last you years and years. So it makes a lot of sense to get something like that. So I do like the kit. I'm not thrilled with the results I got, but it is what it is. Hopefully if I stay on top of it and don't let them rust, I'll have better results in the future. So that's it for now. Here are some more videos you can watch with different sorts of skateboarding topics. Make sure you tap my logo on screen right there to subscribe, and you can keep learning new things about skateboarding 3 times a week. Thanks for watching.